Good afternoon, everybody. We got another division rival to look at here in this video. And, guys, we are 5 games in. We are, about 30% of the way through the Rams 2023 season. And I think we now have enough of a sample size to just go ahead and admit it. This team is not bad. They're not good. In fact, I think they're the exact distance away from good as they are bad. I think they're average. They are an average football team. And I don't know how it's happening. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't even know if it's desirable by a lot of their fan base, but this is a roughly average football team through 5 games. They are 15th in points scored. They are 16th in points allowed. You look at their games so far, they effectively blew us out. They did blow us out. Let's just call it what it is. They played the Niners tough, at least somewhat tough. They played the Bengals tough, although I do think that's kind of an embarrassing loss. The Bengals had Joe Burrow who couldn't move and they still won that game. I think that is a bad loss, but they hung tough. They beat the Colts in a weird game, and then they hang tough with the Eagles. So they've already played probably the two best teams in the league in the Niners and Eagles, and they were competitive in both games. They didn't win. I'm not going to say they did good. They still ended up winning both games somewhat decisively, but they didn't get their brains bashed in. They didn't get completely blown out the way I thought they were going to get blown out by pretty much everybody this year. I thought this was a 3-win team. They're probably going to have 3 wins by the end of this week. So you look at it, and I think average is exactly the right word to describe them, which it's not all bad. Right? I will say that. Them being average means I don't have to worry about having Caleb Williams in my life for the next 15 years, which is a huge relief to me because, in case it hasn't already been made clear, I am 100% a believer in Caleb Williams. I think that he is one of the four. If you were to make the four horsemen of the perfect QB prospects, he would be one of the horsemen in NFL history. Ever. He's right up there with the all-time greats. So, hey, at least we don't have to worry about Caleb in a Rams jersey going forward, it looks like. But that also comes with another problem. This team is going to be annoying this year. We're going to play them again later this year. They already kind of blew us out. We're going to have to find a way to rectify that. We're going to have to beat them, or else we might actually let them get involved in the playoff chase and maybe even be considered a pretty decent team. So you look at the rankings, and to me, the only thing that really stands out about this Rams team in the positive, and the reason why I think they're doing what they're doing, is mostly just the fact that they are really good on third down. Between Puka and Cooper Kupp now, who just came back, that's a team that's a problem on third down. We even saw it against the Eagles on Sunday, where the defense, the Eagles' defense, which is loaded with talent, really struggles to get off the field on third down because those guys just get open on third down. That's what they do. The one area where the Rams stand out is their scoring percentage. They score on a very, very strong percentage of their offensive drives. They're kicking field goals sometimes, sure, but they are scoring. And I think a big reason why they're able to do that is because they convert on third down, so they keep the ball a lot. That, I think, is the standout quality of this Rams team, and that's why they're going to be kind of difficult to deal with for the rest of the season because there's really not much else you can say about this team. They're not really effective running the ball. Their passing stats are really not that impressive, especially given the fact that they are put in situations where they have to throw the ball a lot. Like, it's okay, but it's not that great. Their defense is obviously decent, but it's not forcing turnovers. It's not overly strong in any one area. Um, I will admit, I'm just going to say it, and people can laugh at me if they want to. I think we're probably feeling different about things if the Seahawks don't lose both of their offensive tackles in that week 1 game and just get completely skunked in that second half. I think we might actually have won that game if we had Cross and Lucas. And then right now the Rams are 1-4, and we're feeling very differently But that did happen, and because of that, we're able to look at this Rams team in a different light. And that different light clearly shows that they are competitive in every game they play, which is well beyond what I thought we were going to get this year. And they're kind of doing it in a somewhat ugly way, which is not typically how this Rams team has been good. Like, just as an example, you look at Matt Stafford, you look at his numbers, just look at this box score over 5 games for Matt Stafford. This is a bad quarterback, right? This is a quarterback who is bad. 61% completion, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. In the modern NFL, this is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league, statistically. But you watch him play, he looks fine. He looks pretty good. Looks like he's doing his thing out there. So you look at these numbers and you're like, this is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league. You look at their rushing attack. They've got a lead running back that is averaging less than 4 yards a carry. That's a bad rushing attack, too, in theory, right? So they find these weird, ugly ways to win games. They have statistically a bad quarterback and statistically a bad lead running back, but they're getting so much good stuff out of their offense on third down that they're able to mitigate a lot of that. By the way, Stafford's actually been sacked 13 times in the last 4 games as well, so he's actually going down quite a bit as well. Remember, he was not sacked once in that first game, so all 13 of Stafford's sacks have come in the last 4 games. So now he's getting hit a lot. Now he's going down a lot of negative plays that kill drives. There's a lot of stuff going on with this Rams team that is quite simply not good, and yet overall you would call them a pretty decent team. They're getting a not very good season from their kicker, even. Their kicker's missed 4 field goals. That's as many as Jason Myers, who we all hate. Now, granted, he had a field goal blocked. He's missing long field goals, but he's not having a good year either. So you can't say their kicker is bailing them out with his incredible effort. Their punter's good. Ethan Evans is having a really good year, almost a 50-yard average per kick. The defense, I mean, there's Aaron Donald, as always. Like, Aaron Donald is having a great start to the season. You can go to PFF, and they have him as one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL. But what else on this defense is standing out? It's Ahkello Witherspoon has played well. Okay. Ahkello Witherspoon's nice. Byron Young has a couple sacks, but overall he's not a good player. He's not playing well. He just happens to have a couple of sacks. Like, there's really not a whole lot here. I guess Ernest Jones is good. Ernest Jones is good. I'll give him that. But they're kind of a team that just finds these really frustrating and annoying, but nevertheless persistent and clearly existent ways to win games. And it doesn't make total sense, but I really think this team is a testament to third down. If you do well on third down, you can overcome a lot. This Seahawks team, for now the last year plus, because last year and so far this year, has overcome being bad on third down to still be a good offense. This Rams team is doing the opposite. It's not really a good offense, but they get it done on third down, so they find themselves in the mix constantly. And by the way, PFF is much more friendly to a guy like Stafford. They have him graded as one of the better quarterbacks so far this year. And they've actually given Williams a good grade as well, relatively speaking. But the receivers are really seem to be the motor that make things go. All 3 of their receivers have played well this year, including our boy Tutu. Offensive line, mixed results from PFF. The left side is not good, but the right side has been strong. Dotson has actually been really effective for them, which I wasn't really expecting. Defensively, Donald, Witherspoon, and Jones are their only standout players. They got a lot of players on this defense that are graded poorly, but it's still okay. Still okay overall. So I guess all you can really do is give a big salute to Sean McVay and his coaching staff for maximizing what they can get out of this team. They've got 3 players playing really good on defense right now, really, with Donald, Witherspoon, and Jones. They've got 2 good offensive linemen overall, it looks like. And they're maximizing what they can get out of this offense that is, objectively speaking, not really playing that well. It's an average offense, and it's only average. It's being propelled up to being average because of their high competency on third down. That's the best way that I can put it. That's the only way I can put it that makes it make sense, because these Stafford stats would have been good in like the 1980s or the 1990s maybe, right? This looks like a box score out of a player who was playing in the days of Jim McMahon being one of the best QBs in the league, right? and yet their offense is still keeping their head above water. You watch Stafford play, you feel like he's playing really well, and the results are the results. Now, since they're here, since they're still dangling around here, let's have a look at this schedule here because honestly, Arizona, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Green Bay, Seattle, Arizona, Cleveland, Baltimore, Washington, New Orleans, New York. This is not that bad of a schedule. The only really good team they have left is San Fran, and they play them in week 18. San Fran might be resting starters by then. And even if they don't, this is a stretch of every single game, the Rams are going to have a chance. Now, I think they'll lose to Dallas. It's in Dallas. Dallas has proven they can beat up really good on mediocre teams, and the Rams are kind of the textbook definition of a mediocre team. So I do think they'll probably lose to Dallas. I'm pretty much locking that in. But honestly, other than that, and this is even debatable, who is the best team that they play from now to week 17? It might be the Seahawks, and they already blew the Seahawks out. So they have a chance to actually get some positive things going here. Like the Browns have a good defense, but their offense isn't that good. That's winnable. Baltimore's winnable. New Orleans is winnable. They're going to lose some of these games, but there are no monster hiccups here. And honestly, the way Dallas is playing on defense without Diggs, I'm not even going to completely guarantee that, but you look at this, they don't have that bad of a road. They play a bunch of teams that are like decent, like Pittsburgh, Green Bay is decent, New Orleans is decent, but there could be some wins here. And if they beat Seattle in November on mid-November, they might be a team that's going to be a problem even in the playoffs. Yeah, that's right. I said it. This team, this weird roster made up of a bunch of has-beens and no-names, if they beat the Seahawks, that could end up being like the pivot point to whether or not they're a playoff team because other than the Niners, the Seahawks might be the best team they play the rest of the year. If they beat us, they're guaranteed the tiebreaker over us. You're talking about a potential wild card team at that point. You really are. They get to play Arizona twice. They get to play Washington, and they look like they've completely fallen off a cliff. They get to play the Giants. Like, it could happen. All these games, they're going to have a shot in if they continue to play the way that they're playing. So, yeah. I can't believe we're here. I was very, very adamant this offseason that the Rams were going to be a terrible team this year. But it's looking like they're going to get to about 7 wins. And if they can push it just a little bit, they could be in 7 seed contention, I think. Now, again, as a Seahawks fan, I'm not torn up about that because it ruins their ability to get Caleb Williams. But at the same time, they still need to end up being a below average team or else they're going to ruin this season for the Seahawks. So it needs to like thread the needle a little bit here. So yeah, glad we don't have to worry about Caleb, but I would prefer the Rams win like 5 games this year and not get Caleb, not win 10 games and not get Caleb. You get what I'm saying here? All right, so that's my look at the Rams through the first 5 games. I mean, they're better than I thought, no doubt about it. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.